Well, good morning, my beautiful coffee beans. I am Bullhorn Betty. We've been covering the case of Miss Nancy Guthrie, an 84-year-old grandmother ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked gunman and never to be seen again. And this happened on February 1st, and we're nowhere closer to finding out what happened to Miss Nancy Guthrie or who did this to her. We also have an RSO out of North Carolina murdering a woman, ripping her out of her house. It goes over to a story in Miami where lobster diving has become dangerous. Someone is now charged with attempted murder for somebody encroaching a lobster spot. This is getting a little crazy. And is the U.S. and issues in the U.S. starting to spill over in other parts of the world? Bangkok? A mass shooting at a school, at a high school that leaves 6 people dead? Michael Monkey Vaughn's 5-year anniversary? And Becky Hill gets a win. That's all packed into today's Bullhorn Betty show. So welcome, guys. Grab your beverages, come on in, and let's have some conversations.
Bullhorn Betty rocks.
Coffee steaming, files on the table. We clocking early, hunt what's unstable. Bullhorn Betty on the curb, voice raised. Flip-flop queen with the homemade phrase. Notebook thick, got the screenshots flag. Names in red ink, every rumor, every tag. Late night live stream, screen glow on her face. Truth in her throat, got a lawman's pace. She don't blink when the threats roll through. Come see me, she says, if you think that's cute. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. Insane Asylum, that's our crew nickname. Laugh so loud while we track these names. Whiteboard wild with the webs we spin. Pen to pen, see the pattern sink in. Turmo shaking when the case goes cold. We stir it back up, won't do what we're told. Doorstep question, side eye stare. Where were you that night? We hanging right there. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that they gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we get that justice. This for the faces on the milk cart labels. This for the families praying at tables. This for the names that the news won't say. We say them out loud every single day. Every day. If you're running in the dark, better feel that fear. Betty got a bullhorn right in your ear. Coffee club crazy, but we think so clear. One small town, whole world gonna hear. Hey! Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. We hunt bad guys till the sun comes up. From the front porch steps to the courthouse rug. We fighting for the ones that the day gave up. Bullhorn Betty in the coffee club. Sip that truth from a styrofoam cup. From the quiet streets to the madhouse buzz. We ain't letting go till we take red
Wow. We're having quite the technical issues with the intro this morning. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I could hear nothing. Even my little doot-doot, my horn. I only did that because I saw where we were in the video. I couldn't hear. And we still had the little doot-doot. We still... Oh, good gracious. Now the question is, do I have any sound on my, because I might have to, let me see if I got some sound. I better have some sound, y'all. All right, we got sound. It just, my intro didn't want to, my intro was angry with me this morning. It didn't want to, let's see if we can get this. Yeah, we got some technical stuff going on with the, some stuff here. I don't know why, but we do have some technical stuff going on here. Huh, interesting. Yeah. All right, well, hopefully we won't have too many technical issues through this show. I don't know what's going on with this, but we're back, so it doesn't really matter. We'll get the intro. I'm sure it's just a little glitchy. We've got a lot of stories to go over, but we're gonna move through those pretty quickly. The reason why I'm bringing up the very first story is because this is a case out of North Carolina that kind of shakes the core of your being. Okay. This is an RSO, so he's already been in jail. These people do not get rehabilitated, okay? They only get smarter. So when you deal with a child abuser that of the sexual proclivity, or an adult predator of the sexual proclivity, you're not going to get rehabilitation with these type of people. You're just not. Okay? Anybody that tells you otherwise is an idiot. These people are predators. There's something programmed in their brain. We talk about the brain a lot on this channel because your brain controls everything. So when you have a sick brain, your body is sick. Okay? You are unpredictable when you got a short circuit brain. And that's why we have a lot of people that have untreated mental health issues. They're a wild card. You never know what you're going to get with them because their brain is sick and it can literally just do anything at any time. And these people are not in control. That's the issue. They're not in control. They have these impulses and compulsions that are so strong they cannot physically control them. So these people cannot be around the rest of us. They know that there's something wrong with them. It's not like they're completely immune to the fact that they're screwed up. They know they're screwed up. There's nothing they can do about it. That's what people don't understand. That's why it's so important whenever we get these people and they're out of control, we put them behind bars and we don't let them go unless for a very, very, very long time. And even then, it's a little scary. So this guy is already an RSO. He's already registered, and it doesn't help. He broke into this lady's home, ripped her out of her own home. God knows what he did with her, and then he murdered her and dumped her body in the woods. This is a man that just probably happened to walk by her, maybe came in contact, or maybe did some work on her house. Who knows how they got involved? I'm not reading this story. I heard a little bit about it, and just want to remind you guys, vigilance is absolutely necessary in today's society. Vigilance is absolutely necessary in today's society. This is the monster. Doesn't look like a monster, does he? I want you to take a good look at this man, because this man looks like, an innocent dumbass, right? If he was on my house, working on my house, would I look at him as a monster that's going to break in and murder me? No, I do not. Okay? So I just want you guys to understand, because this looks like an innocent grandfather here. He looks like probably somebody's next door neighbor. Hardly somebody you would even be defensive around, unless he gave you a bad vibe. Who knows? Haven't we learned by now? We haven't. And now, in some of these cases, North Carolina is one of the worst. They allowed people to commit homicide and be released back out on the streets. Attempted homicide and be released back out on the streets. People in North Carolina are in danger. They are being attacked by their government. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in North Carolina. And I'm sure there are some good law enforcement areas in there, but that Mecklenburg, whatever area, that's pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. I don't know these areas. I'm not intentionally trying to be mean or anything like that. But anyways, let's get moving. I just wanted to point out that guy looks fairly normal. He looks like any janitor, employee, electrician, construction worker, docile, just a guy. you wouldn't, and I thought that it was very important to show you guys him because he doesn't look dangerous, but yet here he is, an RSO. That means he's already been convicted of, having a sexual violence, and now he broke into a lady's house with sexual violence. Okay, in Miami, we have lobster season, okay? And apparently there are a lot of people that get really defensive over diving spots for lobster. Some people harvest those diving spots, those lobster spots, and they feel like they're their own. It's not. The water is for everybody. Nobody owns the water. Now, you do own lobster and crab, like stuff to hunt crab and stuff like that. Those things you own, and those things are registered. You can't go and empty out a crab basket, but you can pretty much look for lobster anywhere you want in the state of Florida during lobster season. So when a boater became irate over a vessel already anchored in his spot, according to an arrest affidavit, this is where we get the guys. I just want to remind you, if you're ever here, nobody owns nothing. Okay. I just want to let you know. Thank you. Cages, the lobster cages or crab cages. You can use those, but whenever it's lobster season, you have to go down there and hunt for lobster by hand. You can't use cages for the lobsters. The owner of the fishing vessel, which had already anchored at the lobster diving location before Simpson arrived, told authorities that around 5:30 a.m. July 29th, the diver on his vessel was preparing to enter the water when a gray conch vessel began speeding toward them, circling their vessel several times before stopping 10 feet away. And an argument began with people on the conch vessel claiming the previous vessel was in their spot, the affidavit said. The 39-foot contender boat arrived shortly after to stop, also stopping 10 feet from the anchored vessel. So the threats turning off the air supply. They cut his air supply off. I remember hearing about this case, and the guy was in the water. You can't do that. That you could kill somebody. And some of these areas off these coasts are very, very, very deep. So these are not owned by anybody. No spot is owned by one vessel or another vessel, and everybody out there on boats know that. But just be careful because, obviously people are very territorial. Here you guys go. This is shocking to me. Bangkok. I don't know if this is their first mass shooting at a high school or not, but I know we don't hear about these type of things all over the country. They're more here in the United States of America. So my question is, what in the world just happened in Bangkok where several high school students or people at the high school, 6, are dead? And many are wounded from this attack. We don't hear about these types of things in other parts of the world. We just don't. A mother out of Fruitland, Idaho, is reminding everybody to please not forget about her son this morning and this week. Her son, Michael Monkey Vaughn, which I did a tour out there to search for Michael Monkey Vaughn. Dolly and I put a flyer up for Michael Monkey Vaughn while we were out there. And we did a lot of searching. There's a Snake River. There was a lot of places that he could have gotten lost or injured or something. It's very peaceful around there, but there are a few places like the Snake River. It moves very, very fast. And if he would have went down there just to, hang out or whatever and got swept, somehow got in the water and got swept away, we would have never found him. But that wasn't the case. The case about Michael Monkey Vaughn is some neighbors on the other side of the community kidnapped him. Why? We don't know. But he ended up losing his life as a part of it. And one of the people started speaking about it when him and his wife got into a fight. Next thing you know, they started digging up their property. The dogs hit on an area where there was a void in the ground, but whatever was there had been removed and moved someplace else. And they believe that something was Michael Monkey Vaughn. Stacy Wandra is the first to be charged in these crimes. There's 4 individuals, but Stacy Wandra is the first. And right now they're going to be having some delays in his case. So we're monitoring this case closely. But again, this little 5-year-old boy, he ended up never coming home. His mother's been fighting. She's went through a lot of stuff. I never really thought that her and her husband were responsible, but as time went on, people started looking at them because we had never looked at them. I think we almost believed them from the very beginning because of the way this all, broke out. But as time went on and no answers were had, some of that started scrutinizing them, and people became very nasty to the family. It was very sad, and started beating up this family. We went out there. I interviewed her. This is another case where the hate channels got in and told these people that I was coming there to harm them some way, which is ridiculous because these assholes on these hate channels won't do anything for anybody. All they do is collect money. They never help. They never fund any type of research. They never fund flyers. They never do anything. All they do is destroy and just destruct and destroy for profit. And so anyways, this is how brazen this mother still wanted to meet with me no matter what all these animals told her about me on these streets. She still wanted to meet with me and met with me for an interview, and my heart broke for her. Her and her family, and she was struggling. The mom was struggling with liver issues and had to have a liver transplant. Almost lost her life. Liver or kidneys, I can't remember which, but I think it's the liver. And almost lost her life while she's trying to find out what happened to her son, because at this time her son had not been nobody had been arrested, and nobody knew what really truly did happen to him. The four were under scrutiny for a year and a half before action started happening to get them arrested and what have you. And again, we only have Stacy under arrest right now. I believe Sarah Wandra is also in jail, but she hasn't been yet charged. And we have similar issues with Brandon as well as Adrian Lucen. So we're still far away from true justice for Michael Monkey Vaughn, but we are getting a little closer. But I was just shocked that, at me myself, I missed the 5-year milestone. That's a horrible milestone to be at for a family, I will tell you that. We pray to God that families get answers long before they hit these type of milestones. And Michael Monkey Vaughn's one that's just passed, and the one before it, right, that took away from him when his happened was Summer Wells. She was really a hot item when Michael Monkey Vaughn disappeared out of Idaho, Fruitland, Idaho. So we weren't really paying a whole lot of attention to Michael Monkey Vaughn's case, but some people were. And as soon as things started dying down in the Summer Wells case, Michael Monkey Vaughn's case was picked up by social media and ran with. And this poor little boy has never been found or seen. And it just, we all wonder what happened to that little boy, because the people are just sick in this world. And why would anybody be snatching little boys off the street unless there was a reason, So that's kind of the update. Now, there is a trial going on. I forgot to bring this up, and I just wanted to touch on it because it's been quite an interesting trial, and it's the trial of Lindsay Clancy. She's a 35-year-old lady. She's a nurse from Duxbury, Massachusetts, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And she killed her 3 children, and then she tried to kill herself, which left her paralyzed from, I think, the waist down or the neck down or something like that. She's got major paralysis. Well, she's right now in trial, and we don't know why she did this. I'm not sure, in all honesty, the claims in this particular case. I understand why we needed to have a trial for something like this, but to me, there seems like there was a psychological break with this lady. She's a nurse. She loves her children. Everybody that talked about this mother talked about how she was so concerned about what the children ate, what the upbringing. They even had money for a nanny to come in the mornings to help her out and to care for the little baby. The mom was struggling with this pregnancy even after having the baby, just severe postpartum depression. But it wasn't just the postpartum depression. A lot of women have postpartum depression after conceiving and giving birth to children. So they're not murdering their kids, right? So you have to look at it from that angle. But there's certain elements here, and it's the lack of sleep that really give rise to the arguments that she's making, because they're saying she's under a psychosis. Psychosis is your brain, because your brain doesn't function well when you're tired, right? And when you're insomniac, your brain starts short fusing in some cases. And again, when you have a sick brain, your body is sick because you have no control. And it sounds like she was in deep psychosis. That's postpartum psychosis, and ended up strangling her children to death. She's on trial right now for their homicide, to find out, and they're basically saying that she lost her stuff. And when you have a beautiful mom that is very, very, very caring for her children, and has had 2 other successful pregnancies, and then has another pregnancy and starts falling into a deep depression, and, having to have some psychiatric visits and stuff like that, you're talking about something that goes beyond, that's more severe than your run-of-the-mill postpartum depression that a lot of women do face after having certain pregnancies. Some pregnancies you don't have it, and some pregnancies you do. And from my understanding, you don't know which is going to give you that depression, or really even where it comes from. It's obviously a chemical imbalance inside the body from giving birth somehow that has a negative effect on a woman's body. And it sometimes doesn't always affect the woman's body in the same way. But this one seems like a very severe case. But was her intent, would this mother have ever murdered her children had it not been for this? The answer for me, after even everything I've been hearing so far, the answer is no. And how unfortunate this case is, I feel so. When it comes, and I'm probably really wrong, but when it comes to Lindsay Clancy's case, I'm kind of torn here, because she murdered 3 beautiful kids, and that's heartbreaking. But did she really have the hate in her heart to take her children out? I don't even feel like this was like mercy, like she thought that this world was so bad that she just, like, I feel like her brain was just mush. So I feel torn here, because I anybody that hurts a child, I want them to pay. I want them to pay for that. I want them to pay greatly for that. I want them to feel that, and I want it to be very uncomfortable. But when I feel like I see somebody with a sick brain, and when you have a sick brain, again, it controls you. You don't control it. It does give me reason for pause here. And I don't know how I feel about this. It's not even up to me. It's up to the jury. And I pray to God that jury makes the right decision. But I got to tell you, I feel some type of way about this case. A piece of me even feels bad for Lindsay. And I don't know how to reconcile those feelings, because I'm so angry that 3 beautiful children are deceased. But it makes me truly wonder. I don't want anybody ever being punished with prison because their brain is not right. That we have places for people like that, and prison is not it. And if she needs psychiatric help, then she needs psychiatric help. There's no way she's getting psychiatric help in a prison. So this is just a case that I'm monitoring very closely, but I'm not covering it because I feel some type of way about it. And I don't know if I'm right about the way I feel about it. And it's just a case that is very hard on me personally. And I'll give some updates on it, but it's not a case that I'm willing to really dive into too much. So just to give you a little history, I brought up a history so I could explain it without too many issues. But Lindsay Clancy is a 35-year-old labor and delivery nurse from Duxbury, Massachusetts, and is currently on trial for the January 24th, 2023 strangulation death of her 3 children, Cora 5, Dawson 3, and Callan 8 months old. The trial, which began in July 2026, is taking place in Plymouth Superior Court under Judge William Sullivan. The core conflicts of trial. The trial does not dispute the fact that Clancy killed her children. Instead, the legal argument centers around her intent and mental state. And that's where we're getting at. It's about her mental state and her intent. I don't think her, everything that we're hearing, was an amazing mom. Very, very attentive to her children. I mean, it's hard to believe that this same woman is accused of murdering her children, and there's got to be a reason. We always try to find a reason. I mean, women just don't do this. They don't have, I mean, her oldest child was 5 years old. Obviously she loves children. She cared for her children. Her children were in great shape. Her 3-year-old and 5-year-old were amazing kids. So a woman just doesn't go from being an amazing mom to being this homicidal maniac. So there's got to be something. And usually things like this can be explained away with if somebody's on like drugs, like some hardened drugs. But we're hearing that it might be the drug combination that did this to her, that screwed her brain up so much. They're saying that she was on something like 16 different medications at the time this happened, and that she was massively over-medicated. And I'm sorry, but a healthy woman should never be on those types of that many medications. Guys, she's 30-something years old. How old is she? 36 years old? What did I say her age was? 35 years old. 16 medications? 16? It frustrates me because even if we do find out, yeah, that's what I'm hearing. It was a lot. It's double digit amounts. I want to say it's 16. It's not in this article, but I remember hearing that she was on a massive amount of medication. And I'm just like, this is where it frustrates me, because you got the pharmaceutical company that is completely, the only thing that they're ever going to ever have to deal with, they're never going to be held responsible criminally for these cases. Doctors will never be held responsible criminally when they should. Three children are dead. 3 children are dead. And she's going to the doctors for help, thinking that they're helping her. And they're getting a payday by getting kickbacks for all the medication they're prescribing this lady. I'm almost guaranteeing we're going to find that these doctors get kickbacks for these prescriptions. I am angry because we have 3 dead children. And if we find out that this is medically induced by overprescribing of medication that caused this woman to lose reality, who's held accountable for that? The worst thing that's going to happen to these rich pharmaceutical companies is they get sued, and they've got the buffer for the lawsuit. They are never held accountable for the dangers and the damages they do across this country to families, because our government puts them at the top of the food chain and says, well, we need them, so we're going to protect them at all costs, no matter how much damage they cause you or your family. We've got 3 deceased children here. Who's going to be held accountable for that? This lady here that trusted the doctors? That's who we're going to hold accountable? I feel some type of way about this case. I really do. So I just want to just point out, this was a great article, so I'm just going to read this here, and then we'll get moved on. What else do I have here? Oh, and then we'll go over real quickly the win for Becky Hill, which is crazy, and then we'll dive into Miss Nancy Guthrie. Where are we? So I'm almost made it to my half-hour mark, but we're going to go over my half-hour mark. I apologize about that. But so Lindsay Clancy's murder trial zeroed in Friday on her psychiatric care before she killed her 3 children, which testimony tracing a months-long path to final appointment the day before the tragedy. In that virtual visit on January 23, 2023, the Massachusetts mother appeared depressed. She said she felt no motivation and reported bouts of heart-racing anxiety. Psychiatrist Dr. Jennifer Tufts told jurors, she said that Clancy gave no indication of hearing voices that, according to her defense, commanded her the next day to take her children's lives so she could end her own. Did she tell you that she was planning to kill her children? Prosecutor Jennifer Sprague, I think it's how you pronounce her name, asked. No, Tufts replied, absolutely not. Clancy's psychiatric treatment is key chapter to both the prosecution and defense narratives about her mental state when she strangled the three children in her suburban home, then jumped out of the second-story window. This lady was truly, truly disturbed. Questioning Tufts, and a different psychiatrist who treated Clancy during a 5-day hospital stay earlier in January 2023. So she was already staying in a psychiatric hospital. Oh, popcorn, I love it. Yeah, this is who gave this. This was from I think the real Me Too. I think the real Me Too. Prosecutors argue Lindsay, 35, a former labor and delivery nurse, was an intentional killer who attacked her children after getting her husband out of the house by asking him to run errands. The defense doesn't dispute that she killed the children, but says she was mentally ill and shouldn't be held criminally responsible. The criminal trial and medical malpractice lawsuit, Clancy's attorney says she had bipolar disorder and postpartum psychosis, a breakdown with reality that a small fraction of women have after childbirth. When Clancy first sought care, she sought care September 2022, consulting her notes on the witness stand Friday. She recalled Clancy reported feeling anxious, overwhelmed by caring for three children, and worried about her infant Callan's refusal to bottle feed. Her maternity leave was set to end, though she would go on to extend it. She never went back to work, from everything I understood. Tufts diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder, blah, 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 blah. Let's see here. Clancy's malpractice suit argues that her mounting anxiety and sleeplessness after her first antidepressants were a reaction that signaled bipolar illness. Tufts said that that considered such a diagnosis in December 2022, but Clancy did not meet the criteria. Another provider, a nurse practitioner, did consider bipolar disorder and prescribed antipsychotics that often used to treat it, as well as insomnia. Clancy's condition continued to decline. So a nurse practitioner made this decision when a psychologist or psychiatrist refused to make that. So again, this could be another question about nurse practitioners. They've been doing the jobs for the doctors for a long time, but they still make mistakes. So by New Year's 2023, Clancy checked herself into a hospital, a prominent psychiatric facility. So she was doing everything she could. She knew she wasn't right. She knew something was wrong, and she was going through this, and she was doing what she could to seek help. Clancy said she felt numb, expressed concern about depending on antipsychotics to sleep. Hospital psychiatrist Alea Goodhart testified Friday. She diagnosed Clancy with insomnia, with a mental health condition, and tapered down the drug. Clancy then reported she could sleep, was eager to go home in time for a long-planned belated birthday for Cora. So she was looking forward to doing things with her children and booked herself follow-up outpatient care. The psychiatrist testified the hospital discharged her January 5th with prescriptions for an anti-anxiety drug and sleep aid. She had never stated that she had any thoughts of harming anybody else. And although Clancy said she had suicidal thoughts, she denied having them in the moment. And indeed, she said she had reasons not to take her own life, her children and her family. Those were her reasons. Maybe that's why she lost her shit on her family. I don't know. Clancy saw Tufts, her original outpatient psychiatrist, by video 4 more times in January. At the last appointment, Tufts adjusted her medication doses. She saw no reason to order Clancy to be hospitalized, she said. But they're not talking about how many prescriptions. I heard it was a double-digit amount of prescriptions. I heard it was about 16 different prescriptions Clancy was on. Let me ask the system, how many prescriptions RX was she on? I heard it was a lot. At the exact time of the tragedy, toxicology confirmed that Lindsay had at least 6 different prescriptions in her. So she had Ativan, Valium, Seroquel, Limictal, Remeron, and Trazodone. Trazodone's pretty. Here it is right here. Total prescriptions prescribed. In 4 months leading to the tragedy, multiple doctors had prescribed Clancy a total of 12 to 13 different psychiatric drugs. The total prescription issued, because doctors frequently changed her dosage and switched her from one drug to another, she was issued more than 30 individual physical prescriptions between September 2022 and January 2023. This is where my problem is with this lady and what happened. That's a heavy duty cocktail. You damn right. This woman was she was just comatose to life with that stuff. Too many down words. They're all downers. We're hearing they're all downers. This is what's so scary. She trusted doctors. And doctors are playing frickin' Frankenstein on her and her brain. Like they can just take her off. Oh, here's a mood stabilizer. Oh, it's only been 2 weeks. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, let's just rip this off and put this on. I mean, you're talking about stuff that's changing the chemicals in your brain. This is insanity. 30. She was prescribed, physically prescribed. 30 different prescriptions. In a matter of 4 months. 4 months. And was supposed to be taking 12 to 13 of those. And she was only taking 6. And look how messed up the 6 were giving her. I mean, I'd love the full lineup of prescriptions she was prescribed. This is insane. And you know what? Guess what? Do you think any of these doctors are going to be held accountable for this? Any of you? You think that they're going to be charged with homicide or murder? Do you? No. This lady trusted them. And look at her condition. And look what happened to her. And now she's facing court. In a very, to me, this is a slam dunk case to me for mental messed up. She was trying to get help and doctors just didn't know what to do. This is what I talked about. You know, every time we're on here, I tell you that this whole psychiatric stuff, this is all theory. You can't go take a blood test and say, oh, you're schizophrenic, or, oh, you're bipolar. So these people listen to ailments. There's no testing. And they say, oh, well, you must be this way. Here, let me prescribe you a psychiatric drug, something that changes or alters your mind. I don't like psychiatric stuff because, again, it's all theory-based. There's no proof it works. In my opinion, there's no science behind it, because if there was, you should be able to go and give blood and they should be able to diagnose you. And no matter where you go, you should be able to be diagnosed the same exact way. But if you go to 5 different psychiatric doctors, you're going to get 5 psychiatric answers. That's why I don't like psychiatrists and people that screw with people's brains. People are like, well, you know, they're good for the schizophrenia and stuff like that. How do we know? We don't know. I know that people that are on medication for schizophrenia don't like the medication they're on. Why? I don't know. I'm not schizophrenic. But I can tell you, I don't like brain doctors because it's all theory based. It's all theory based. That's why I don't like it. I don't like it. This right here, 30-something medications, 12 active at the time. She's 35 years old. Most people with heart, I've got a lot of people. How many people in my chat are over the age of 60 in here? And tell me how many medications at 60 you're on. The only people that are on that type of medication are being kept alive by medication. This lady was a 35-year-old healthy woman. What in the hell are they doing? Shoveling 12 to 13 different psychiatric medications down this lady's throat. There you go. There you go. So I don't know. I think that we need to really look at that case, because I'm not really really there in that case. All right, we went over quite a bit, so I'm gonna breeze right through this. I'm gonna breeze right through this. So we covered the case of Alex Murdaugh. Alex Murdaugh is a well-known South Carolina attorney. His family is going down in the history, the United States history books, as the longest standing solicitor in Low Country. They were in power for almost 100 years. The Murdaughs were, before they were dethroned, so to speak. And then after they were dethroned, it started coming out how Alec Murdaugh was laundering his client's money, and he was hiding all of this stuff out. Well, during his trial, one of his trials, let me go step back. His son took his boat out, killed a lady. Her name's Mallory Beach. She was 19 years old. There was a big lawsuit because they knew his son was drinking and was basically a drunk, and gave him the keys to the boat. Therefore, they were able to tie the family back into it, even though his son was 19 years old at the time. But they were able to show liability to the Murdaugh family themselves and bring them back into the case. And they were just going through the financials when Alec murdered his son and his wife to try to delay that, because his whole house of cards were about to crumble down on him. And he was desperate. And in that desperation, he decided to execute his wife and son. Well, Becky Hill was the clerk that oversaw that murder trial, and she was not acting in accordance with her role as the clerk. She had another idea. She wanted to have a book deal. She wanted to become famous. She wanted to have money, and she wanted him convicted in order to do so. So, according to some people, she was doing underhanded stuff as the clerk to secure Alec Murdaugh's conviction, including removing a juror off the jury through false allegations, is what is being said. Well, Alec decided to sue the clerk because she led to his conviction, so to speak, and damaged him. And he wants $700,000 or whatever from this lady. Well, she gets a victory. The courts tossed his case against the clerk. Now, the clerk is dealing with this criminally. She lost her job. She's got fines and fees and a whole bunch of stuff, in addition to now retiring with a criminal record. She has done the damage to herself, but he's also got the same basic lawsuit toward the state as well. So you can't have a $600,000 damage with Becky and a $600,000 damage with the state. I mean, you were out $600,000 or $700,000 for your defense. You can't get $1.2 million as a result of it. So I don't know why it was tossed. I didn't read the article. I really don't care at this point with Becky Hill. I just don't care. I never really thought it was going to go anywhere anyways. But either way, Becky Hill gets a win, and of course, Alec Murdaugh gets to take the L right on the old kisser. I don't like Becky Hill. If you know anything about me, I'm all about law and order, and I expect people, when they're hired to do a job, especially when they are a public servant, I expect them to do their job well beyond any expectation that we have, and she did not do that. Moreover, she is a criminal. She broke the law, and then she brought her son into the mix with the breaking of the law, which was just terrible. How do you do that? How do you bring your own son into the madness that you have yourself has created. So it was dismissed by a federal judge, and they are so happy. At least Becky Hill is a happy camper when it comes to that. She's not going to be financially responsible. They can refile, but for the time being, she's not going to be held financially responsible. Okay, guys, thank you for bearing with me while we went through some updates. I don't get a whole lot of time to go through those updates because we have major breaking cases going on right now. Lynette Hooker, we do not have any updates on it, and there's been no conversation. We're still waiting here with bated breath for the indictment. We expect the indictment to be coming. It's coming any time now, and we're praying to God that Brian Hooker does get arrested. But when it comes to Miss Nancy Guthrie, we have a lot of mysterious facts. And right now, with this case, if you don't know about Miss Nancy Guthrie, she had 3 children. Her husband died when he was 49 years old, forcing her to kind of take care of her family and take a lead role when she was just a housewife. She was able to keep her house, take care of her family, including her mom and her disabled brother. And they just did everything that they could just to keep the family unit together. Her older son was already in the military at the time. Her husband had passed away, but she had 2 teenage daughters at the time living at home, which was Annie and Savannah. Savannah ultimately got her law license, and she ended up working for KVOA as a news journalist, which the Today Show ended up picking her up. And then in 2012, she went over and became this really famous person on the Today Show, known as Savannah Guthrie. Years later, her mom would be ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night by a masked intruder, never to be seen again. And everybody here in the United States and abroad, quite frankly, are sitting here with bated breath, wondering what in the world just happened. We have no earthly idea what happened to her mother. We know that there were 3 major people that came under speculation related to Miss Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. And that first person was Tommaso Cioni, and that is her son-in-law. Miss Guthrie, the evening she disappeared, was over at her oldest daughter's house for dinner, games, and just family time before being dropped off later in the evening around 9:48 at night, and the garage going down around 9:50. Everybody thought she went in the house, was safe, and never, nothing to worry about. From everything we understand, Tommaso went back home. The night was usual. They cleaned up, and went to bed. The next day, around noon, they get a call from Nancy Guthrie's friends that she goes over and hangs out with on Sunday to watch online church service. It's something that they've been doing since 2019. So this is not something that she elects to do once in a while. It's something she regularly does week after week. And we're learning she never made it. They called the family, which I'm assuming is Annie, because she's the closest. Annie and Tommaso are the closest to her and have the most hands-on with their mother. They get to the house about noon, and what they see was a little alarming. They see a blood trail out the front door. They see the back gate propped open with flower pots. They see the back door propped open with flower pots. Law enforcement comes there. They're arguing with Annie and Tommaso about her wandering off. And, one of our audience members in chat had even said, well, if it really was Annie and Tommaso that did this, wouldn't they have preferred them believing she just walked off? Like, why would they sit there and argue with law enforcement that she did not just walk off if they were responsible for her disappearance? Wouldn't they have just went right along with it? Mom walked off, and then of course if sister and brother said anything, then they would say, well, you don't really realize how much mom has declined since you've been gone. So I mean, there was ways to play this off if it truly was Annie and Tommaso that did this, where law enforcement was already looking at a something that absolved them of any responsibility. Why would they not just allow them to keep going down that line of concern, that she just walked off? Yeah, you're probably right. She did just walk off. She has been getting forgetful here recently. Why didn't they just play on that? Why would they be arguing emphatically with the law enforcement that she is sharp as a tack and would never leave? She can't leave. She physically is unable to leave. She wouldn't even be able to get off her property on a good day, let alone in the middle of the night. You know? So there's might be another little spot of hope that her family had nothing to do with this, because I would definitely believe out of everything that they would have cleared up. You know, I just truly do believe that they would have kept encouraging law enforcement to go down that option for their mom, right? Yeah, mom was been very forgiving. I mean, look at Katie Proudfoot, for example. Some of you guys are not familiar with Chris. See, I'm going to say Chris Proudfoot, are not familiar with Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers' case. I hope that you guys do become familiar with Sebastian's case. He was 15 years old when he disappeared. He disappeared under unusual circumstances while he was with his mother and in his mother's care. But whenever they were talking about him wandering off, they encouraged that from law enforcement. And not only that, even though they knew that Sebastian would never go to water and ponds and stuff like that, they never corrected law enforcement and said, you're wasting your time looking in ponds. I mean, he would be more inclined to go swimming in somebody's pool before he ever went in a stream or a pond, because he doesn't like dirt. He doesn't like dirt. He doesn't like being dirty. He loves swimming. He swims like a fish. But if you're getting him in the water, you're getting him in the pool. You know, why didn't his family correct law enforcement? No, they just allowed them to waste all this time searching all these ponds for a boy that would never be in those ponds. Very, 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 looking back on that, hindsight is 2020, and we look back on that and see that. But at the time, we were thinking, oh my gosh, he could be in a pond. But everyone in his family knew he would never be in a pond. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And the difference between Sebastian and other autistic children is Sebastian knew how to swim. He wasn't going to be one that just sunk to the bottom. The problem with other children is their families have never taught them to swim. So when autistic children get into the water, well, as you know, if you don't know how to swim, you sink, right? People don't realize you got to keep your head above water. Otherwise, you're drowning. So we've been on this case trying to figure out what's going on here. Who did this? If not Annie and Tommaso, who? And then it comes back to the mysterious facts. Things that are being re-questioned and being re-questioned on a massive level. Why did Tommaso go back to the home back in April? Why was he there? If you guys remember, we still had quite the media crew out the front door. And Tommaso went to the house, and he was seen walking out the back gate and to his car without anybody. And why? But the question is, why did he go to the house to begin with? Why was he there? What was the purpose of him going there? And what was he trying to see? I truly don't know what the reason was. But of course, we do have people questioning it. So why was Tommaso behind the casita? If you guys remember, we captured Tommaso walking out of the property and into his car in real time while they were recording, and people were like, what was he doing there? I mean, granted, it's his family's home, but not a whole lot of people had been going in and going out. So why was he there? 6 months after 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her Tucson, Arizona home, the FBI returned to the search surrounding her neighborhood, and we discussed this. So we also found it very interesting because, let me put this up. Okay, move this over. Because here's what we've got. Let me see. I think that's about right where I need it to be. Is that right where I need it to be? That's right where I need it to be. So as you see, the red dot up there at the top is the home. You can recognize the home just from the aerial. You can see that that's the home. The kidney-shaped pool, the casita, kidney-shaped pool on one side, the casita on the other, and then this positioned on the lot. Well, there's a lot of different areas around here that can be driven, right here. Look how close this gets you to the back of her house right here. Look how close this gets you right to the back of her house right here, right? So we've got a lot, and then of course you got this one. It's a little bit longer, but it's got less, it looks like it's got less thick foliage. It seems like a path that might have some stuff on the ground, but you can get through it, and it gets you right over here. Look at that. Straight shot, right? Straight shot. This is a lot closer, path of least resistance right here. But we also saw what appeared to be a car over here in this driveway. So you have a driveway here that kind of curves this way and goes out that way. Well, this is the angle that the camera was taking, and it appears that we have a car like right here in the driveway in the porch guy video. It appears that the car is right here, a vehicle. And people, I think it was Mark in here, sent me a video, and it looks like it was an old style Range Rover. So again, it makes me wonder what does Luke Daly's mom drive? I'm trying to get rid of Luke Daly. I'm trying to move past Luke Daly because there's a piece in my mind that just says it's not him. My gut's telling me it's not him, but we have all of these things that are leading toward, leading in on Luke Daly. But there's just a piece of me that just keeps squawking back here that he's not it, and I like listening to my own little board of representatives up here that are constantly working around the clock to keep me in the good graces of all of you, right? But at the end of the day, I am trying to find out what happened to her and who could be responsible. And I'm not the one that brought Luke Daly. I do not plaster people's face on my channel just to plaster people's face on my channel. If I truly think that they're responsible, then we'll dig in a little bit deeper. But in this case, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's not, like it couldn't be him, but there's pieces of me that says, yo, yeah, it's him. So I just don't know. I'm very, 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 very confused when it comes to this. Let me get all this junk out of here so we can figure out where we're at. So where were we? Families considered suspects. Is this the right one? Yes, this is. Yes, this is. Okay. So the mother of the Today's presenter, Savannah Guthrie, was reported missing on February 1st after authorities believe she was abducted from Catalina home near Tucson overnight on January 31st. The case remains an active kidnapping investigation, and law enforcement has not publicly identified or charged any suspect. The latest search conducted with assistance from the FBI has renewed interest in the investigation as authorities revisit the area surrounding the Guthrie home following seasonal changes in the landscape. So they're seeing if there's anything that kind of gyrated out, especially with the monsoon, all the water that's been coming in. Did it flood anything? And not only that, but why are they looking behind her house? Because if they had the torrential rains that they talked about, that stuff should have been swept out further down. They should be searching further down where it collects at, not right behind her house. Just my opinion, but I understand. So the FBI returns to the Catalina foothills, and we reported how they returned. We reported that they were seen on the back side of the house, which is very interesting, because that's an area that we kind of stayed away from for a really long time, because the people out there, including Brian Enton, told us how incredibly rough the terrain was back there, making it next to impossible for anybody to move around back there. So now hearing that law enforcement is actually back there going through the back side of her house, it makes you wonder, is that statement really true or not? I don't know. I haven't been there. I would love to go out there and take a look of, get a lay of the land in a journalistic aspect, just to understand what we're dealing with here, because every time we go out to a case that somebody else has previously described, it's never the way that they describe it in my mind. The way I see it and the way other people see it sometimes are different. So we know we have monsoon rains that altered the desert environment, partially exposing or concealing evidence may not have been visible during the earlier searches. But again, if that is a flooding and torrential downpour, well, that's going to take and sweep. Put it like this. I have some, so I went out there and I've been trying to kill all the weeds in the yard. It's a lot harder to do than you might think. Well, my whole yard, my whole front yard is like one big, there's this like vine plant. We call it Florida snow. And it has this vine. It's like this vine that grows on the ground and it kills your grass, but it has these little flowers, but it keeps your grass green all year long. It keeps your grass. So I'm trying to kill it. And I got these big spots of ground that are exposed. There's nothing there because I killed the weeds that were all there. So I got big in the front of the yard nonetheless, which kind of sucks, but you got to do it, right? You got to do it in order to get areas so you can plant grass. So I finally got areas of huge spots in my yard that are completely dead. And so I went and took some grass seed, right? So I got some grass seed, Bermuda grass, and I started sprinkling that with the fertilizer because it's now mixed all together. So I just take a little scooper and I, go and spot treat those areas. Well, right after I spot treated, I'm like, oh, great, we're going to have rain. It's going to soak right into the ground. But my rain was ridiculously awful. I mean, it was a lot more rain than I expected. So I'm like, crap. So I go out there and I'm looking at my grass seed, and my grass seed is now moved, right? Because we had such torrential downpours. Guess what? The majority of my grass seeds are now in the ditch because the way my yard is graded. I mean, I could see a lot of the pebbles and pellets still up, caught on other like weeds, but they're not sprinkled out the way I had them, nice and dusted all over, so they have a nice even sprout. Well, now they're all kind of, because the water was so massive that it was bringing these little rivers in my yard, and it was taking those seeds right down and right out of the yard. So it poured down, and it just washed. That's it. And that's why they call them the washes, because it just washes it away. So if they had this monsoon in this terrible torrential downpour, and they're looking at the spot right behind, they shouldn't be looking. They need to go downstream. Because you know what? I was like looking for the pebbles and trying to figure out where the pebbles did. And then you go and you look, and I'll take a picture of it and show you. And you see them all collected. You start seeing them all collected. They're not in the spot that you had them, but they're all collected downstream. And they're collected up against like the weeds, and other grass has collected the seeds and stuff like that didn't wash into the ditch. But it was such a torrential downpour. Like I was thinking, oh great, a summer shower. This is going to be perfect. Just put the grass seed down. No, it was a tidal wave. Okay, it was a tidal wave, and it washed all that sweating I did to put that stuff in those spots to get those. I'm not doing that for a while. We'll have to wait until the next time it's time for me to wash my hair, and I'll go out there and get another good sweat. That's kind of how I do it. I go out and do yard work when it's getting close to time for my hair to be washed. So I don't feel so guilty. One thing I hate is washing my hair and then going out and sweating and turning around and having to wash my hair again. So, Killer Betty. Killer Betty. So this is all sparked because there he is walking out. This was what was captured. Well, let it do. All right, come on. You can do it. Okay. Here it is. There he is, right there. Remember that? Remember that video of him walking out? We're like, okay, well, there you go. There's him walking out. Nobody's with him. He was just there, and then he left. So we asked the question back when this was going on. We asked the question, why was he there then? But we never really, I don't know, we never really thought about it after that. It kind of went on because they were cleared shortly after this. If you remember, I think it was like a few days later, it was when we were told that the family has been cleared and they're victims of this crime, and shame on the world for remotely thinking that somebody was last saw this lady could possibly have done this, defying all metrics of law enforcement in one fell swoop. Leave it to frickin' criminal sheriff Chris NANOS to do that. But I digress. You know, I don't want to keep beating up the old sheriff. It seems like he's got enough problems. I mean, he's got being sued out the wazoo. I wish he was being personally sued. That would be a little more what do I want to say? A little more I feel a lot better. I'd feel a lot better. Anyways, let me just keep moving. So we do ask, you know, why was Tommaso at the home back in April coming from the casita? What was in the casita? And was the casita ever properly forensically investigated? Are we sure that the guy was not laying low in the casita, watching her every move? How do we know he wasn't, you know, staying in the casita? How do we know that somebody was not on that property watching her every move? Satisfying. Yes, satisfying. There it is. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you. We appreciate that. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. That was the word I was looking for. And then, of course, you know, the sheriff is getting sued. Like, and there's more lawsuits coming. We know that there's more multi-million-dollar lawsuits coming. He just got sued for $176 million after a $25 million lawsuit from the jail. The jail, that's what I refer to the jailhouse lawsuit. The $25 million was the jailhouse lawsuit, in my opinion. I didn't think that was going, I was looking at it, I'm like, I don't think this guy's going to get it. But this other one, the $176 million one, on the other hand, guys, that's going to be pretty significant, because this guy, the guy that was shot and paralyzed by Pima County law enforcement, did everything he could to let law enforcement know what was happening, so that was not the outcome. And that ended up being the outcome. He went over and beyond what he could have done as an individual to try to notify law enforcement of the problem. I mean, I've had problems like that before. I literally, because of, I emailed the sheriff directly. I didn't even lollygag with calling the, you know, the telephone. And he ended up giving me some detectives, and me and the detectives did not get along. I ended up cussing their asses out, and they just made things 10 times. They weren't thinking, and it really upset me. And he told me he's sending me the best. Well, thank you, but no thank you. It was my answer to him. Thank you, but no thank you. And so I ended up starting to sue people. But at the end of the day, right here, this $176 million, that should have been avoided. They knew. And not only that, they were talking on an open dispatch line about the prior fake call that they had already cleared. And why isn't the person that did this, that made the call, arrested and charged with an attempted murder? That's what I want to know. Why are they not extraditing the person back to this area to charge them with attempted murder of this man's life? There needs to be some heavy consequences for these swatting calls. So where's the guy that did this, that started all of this, that got this man shot, that sent the Pima County sheriffs over to the house to begin with? If Pima County Sheriff has not investigated that, well, screw you. You deserve a $176 million lawsuit. You shoot this man, paralyze this man, and don't even arrest the person that set all this out to deal with, to do? I don't know. But there's a lot to be said. And there's a lot to be had. So getting back to the case of Miss Nancy Guthrie and all of the problems that have been reported by the FBI and Pima County Sheriff in their fight right now, it seems to me that law enforcement in the Nancy Guthrie case know that this case is screwed up. This is just my opinion. I'm reading between the lines, and sometimes I may be wrong when I'm reading between the lines. So I want to put a caveat on this reporting. But what I see is us approaching 6 months, which is a long time. By the 6-month mark, most all cases have a prime suspect, whether we know about it or not, whether the public knows about it or not. There's people behind the scenes that are talking about a subject, a suspect, going down, investigating, really starting to go in and dive into that person's life and history. And this is all being done behind the scenes. You don't even know what's happening. And we have a case that we just went past the 6 month, and they spent 6 months on stupid ransom notes. They're nowhere. Every source, every lead that we're hearing about, nothing is getting us any closer. Everybody that's talking to News Nation and all these other organizations with these top secret sources, well, they're basically saying we're nowhere. And I think that that's what has ignited this back and forth between the FBI and Pima County, is because whenever you throw the federal government at something, everybody thinks the federal government is in charge, and they're not. Whenever you have a terrible sheriff like Chris NANOS in charge and doing these cases and running and handling these cases, if they're in charge, that means they direct even the involvement of those sources, those federal sources. They do not have to accept the help from the federal government. And there's been a lot of federal government help that Chris NANOS has pushed away. There has been a lot of voluntary help that Chris NANOS has pushed away. It never seemed to be that Chris NANOS ever really wanted to solve this crime, but if the crime was going to be solved, it was going to be by him and his team at all costs, even if he had to take the case in order to keep the case in his hot little hands. That's the way I look at it. Everybody that I've talked to in this case has strongly recommended Chris NANOS turn this case over to the FBI, and he refuses to. He absolutely refuses to. He is another Eric Craddock. They refuse to hand this over to the FBI, and I know why they do. I have now finally figured out why they refuse, because I'm sitting here thinking, all the law enforcement in the world, no law enforcement is going to allow a case to drag on when they could hand a case over that might have better resources to get it solved. Nobody's going to hold that to the chest when you have an opportunity to have it solved. Except if you did such a terrible job investigating the case, handing it over would show how terrible you are to a federal agency. And maybe the embarrassment of how terrible you do your job is more important to that office than solving the case. And I truly believe that is what we're dealing with in Sumner County as well as in Pima County. They did such a terrible job. Handing it over would only promote that they did a terrible job, because now the law enforcement truly see how terrible they did. I have a difficult time taking any LE seriously when they believe the ransom notes. I know. How do we trust their judgment? Yeah, that's it. That's it. How do we trust their judgment when we finally see the ransom notes and we're all looking at each other and saying they spent 6 months on this? It's pretty stupid. It's a waste of time. But you know what? You know what Chris NANOS' response to that would be? How would they know? Because we know. Clearly we know. We've been spot on all the defects of this investigation. 6 months into the search for Nancy Guthrie, investigators appear to be back at the scene. Neighbors in the Catalina foothill saw the FBI agents searching the desert brush behind the Guthrie home. As I stated, all of this is behind the Guthrie home. Behind. So what did Chris NANOS say at the beginning after he reviewed the talking points and the script that Savannah Guthrie gave him to read on the very first press conference, showing her confidence in this sheriff's handling already? Let's listen to what he originally said at the beginning. Let's hold on and hang on to every word this man says at the beginning, because he totally screwed up the case at the beginning.
I'm going through some talking points for the family. I want to make sure I cover them. I'm not somebody who does well with the script. My local media knows that.
So it sounds to me, based on that statement right here, that the family gave this man a script. That they wanted him to say things a very particular way. Why was the family this involved with these statements when they should have been? Why weren't they at this meeting? Why did they show up? If they were in town at the time that this meeting was taking place, this press conference was taking place, why weren't they there? Why wasn't the family standing neck to neck with him? Why didn't he give them an opportunity to make some statements on the record so they could have their talking points said? Why is he carrying this without a photo behind her? This right here tells me they never believed that she was met with foul play. I really truly believe at this juncture, they didn't truly believe she was met with foul play. Yeah, there's a crime scene. We have a crime scene, but I truly don't believe he thought this was as important as it was. It seems like everybody dropped the ball on this case, thinking that this poor lady just wandered off when she was attacked in her home.
We'll get started. I believe it was around noon yesterday. We got a call to the Guthrie residence that Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, was missing. We expended a lot of resources for a missing person that we typically always do. Our search and rescue volunteers, our search and rescue teams, other agencies, Borstar from Border Patrol sent their canines out. They worked tirelessly all day yesterday and all day tonight. I'm sorry, all day yesterday and all last night. To no avail. As I said yesterday, we saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime.
So we now know they did not take this. We never understood why he said this statement the way he said it. But now we all know it was because they never believed they had a crime scene. There's your proof in the pudding. Okay? So you guys wanted to know, like I said, proof is in the pudding. Meat pudding. Okay? Meat pudding. Meat pudding. Let's listen to how he says that again. We made reference to this a lot. We, in fact, have a crime scene. We have a crime scene. You guys have heard me say that mockingly throughout this case, right? Well, think about it. We heard from Brian Inton, and it was very confusing at the time. He was interviewing Bob Krieger, and they were trying to get down to some of the delays. And Bob Krieger tells them that, well, it's because they were thinking she had wandered off. And we're like, wandered off? And so it was very confusing at that time, and even Brian Inton was confused by that statement. Like, why did they think she would have wandered off? Because he said they spent a considerable amount of time trying to decide whether she had just wandered off or not. And it's like, well, the family said she was sharp as a tack and had mobility issues, and so there was this weird dynamic of news with Brian because he walked it back. Like, we heard that and then it was walked back. Do you guys remember that? It was walked back slightly, like as if like they didn't spend as much time as they thought because homicide case investigators were brought immediately in, and that's what we learned, but we're finding out that that's not true. They weren't immediately brought in because they were too busy arguing whether or not this lady had truly wandered off or not, because Sergeant Stivers didn't even believe the fresh blood trail out the front door had anything to do with a missing lady. Like a dum-dum. Now we're realizing that, in fact, they truly did not believe. I think the reason why the homicide unit was called out there is because Annie and Tommaso was arguing with them. They were probably taking this as a mom just wandering off, and she's like, look, our mom is not wandering off. She can't walk. Like, you have to be able to be mobile in order to walk. She can't walk. Her cane's right there. And so that's probably what was so concerning. I bet you anything, Annie was out there arguing with this Detective Stivers about the blood on the outside of the home, saying something is not right here. No, she did not just wander off. Can you imagine? We're all beating up Annie and Tommaso, and they were probably going to the mattress for this stupid law enforcement department to take this case seriously. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like these knuckleheads didn't even want to listen to the family. And so finally, law enforcement came in to do this after probably very strong protest from Annie and Tommaso. And this is what Mr. Criminal Sheriff Pima County says.
To no avail. As I said yesterday, we saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after
They didn't see it. The family saw it. Remember, they didn't think one thing had to do with another. We're finding that out. Because the Wall Street Journal, again, meet pathological liar Chris Nanos. Okay? He has lied to us every step of the way of this case. He has been caught lying to us every step of the way of this case. He has been caught lying for 40 freaking years. I think that if we had to classify, if anybody wanted to know what a pathological liar looks like, this man's face needs to be in the dictionary.
process that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime.
That we do in fact have a crime scene, and that we do in fact have a crime. Why did he say it like that? Why did he say we do in fact have a crime scene? Who says we do in fact have a crime scene like that unless they never thought there was a crime scene to begin with? Meat pudding. Meat pudding. We need to start labeling criminal sheriff Chris Nanos as pudding, because every time I turn around, I turn him into pudding, because the truth is in the pudding, and he likes to lie a lot, and I like to turn him into pudding. Okay, I'm just saying.
And we're asking the community's help. This community has always stepped up to help us solve some pretty tough crimes.
Even though I don't believe it's the family, Vicky, I still believe that it could be an inside job. That has not gotten away from me at all. I think for me, I feel like it's somebody that has seen her or met her. But I still feel like there's something else here, like the person didn't know her. Like, I'm still so confused about that, but the inside job doesn't necessarily mean the family. There was enough people there, and even when we were, if you go back to the beginning of us talking about this, some of the things that I spoke to is, because this person seemed younger to me, I believe that this person is under 30, or maybe early 30s or under. I don't think that they're 40 or older. And that's just my personal opinion based on the way the person moved that I could see. That doesn't mean I'm accurate, but I'm not even looking at that. I'm thinking, well, what about her cleaner or the pool people or the gardener, right? How many times has he brought his son or family member to work with him because they were out of school, or the child was in trouble, or just needed a summer job? What about those people that came to the house that are acquaintances of Miss Guthrie? She knows them by face, but that's it. Could it be an inside job like that? It sure could be. It sure could be. Just because it's an inside job doesn't automatically make it the family being the inside person. There's a lot of people in this. This lady was 84 years old with mobility issues. She had a daughter and a son-in-law that lived nearby, but they both worked. So she still had a lot of chores done by third parties. There were a lot of people around her house on any given week, from the pool people to the landscapers to the cleaners to probably some home health aides or nurses or people coming in there to check her blood, just doing those types of things, because depending on what type of program you're on, they send some people directly to your house, because I'm every now and again I'll go over, check on Glenn, see how he's doing, and he's got a little nurse in his house taking his blood or doing whatever. So there's all types of, a lot of traffic. Exactly. There's a lot of people going in and out of that house in any given week. Or even if it's not weekly, some of these things are bi-weekly or as needed. So you even have more than that on a monthly basis coming in, and doing things. So inside job, yeah, I can see where this is an inside job without a doubt. But I think people automatically assume if it's an inside job, it has something to do with family. Not necessarily, not in this lady's world. She's so active but immobile. It's interesting to say those two things, like she's got mobility issues, but she's so active, right? She's so active, and she's very, very active. Book clubs, mahjong, church, family. That's probably why she was so sharp, is she kept herself engaged. She didn't just sit there and allow herself to waste away like a lot of people when they retire. They get into their routines of just sitting in their chair watching their TV all day, instead of being mobile. And even with her immobility, she still got up and got things done. She still wanted to get things done. So it's pretty interesting. I think there's a cover-up of something. For some reason, smells like a rat. There's something. There's a lot of chaos. I mean, think about it. There's chaos in this story. When you go over to NBC and the Today Show, there's a whole bunch of chaos over there. There's chaos in NBC itself. I mean, they just let Carson Daly go for the celebrity voice, which is stupid. I mean, these people already have the opportunities. The whole purpose of Voice is to give people that don't have normal opportunities, and now you're putting a bunch of celebrities on them. Like, I think the world is sick and tired of the elitism in this country, And I think that everybody's just kind of tired of it. We're wanting to make sure everybody is brought back down to size. Like, you're not bigger than anybody else. Like, even Garth Brooks being able to go out and pop off at the mouth and still be worth $500-600 million is ridiculous. We've got no control. But now he wants to go on these tours, and he's struggling, a little bit, because he's selling shit and he's got business ventures and he's still successful. It doesn't mean he didn't piss off a whole entire sector of fandom, so I don't know. I think the elitism, I think people are just kind of getting over it. And with Savannah Guthrie, it's really sad, because she's so misguided in my opinion, and she's so deluded. Like, she honestly thinks that her part is throwing $1 million at the problem. That her part, and I know she feels like she needs to be strong in her faith over this, and she needs to lead by it, but she's not hearing the message, in my opinion. I think that when things happen in your life, whether you want to know it, there's a message in it. And I don't think she's hearing the message. I really don't. And it might be why she's struggling so much with everything going on, is because when you have so much faith and things like this challenge your faith and you're being strong in your faith, there's still messages to be heard. And when I hear her talk, I don't hear her hearing the message, in my opinion. Now, who am I? I'm just some person out here that has an opinion and has a microphone and a camera and knows how to talk, right? So who am I in her world? I'm absolutely nobody. But just my opinion, with all this agony and pain she's going through, and all of this that she's coming out and attacking people that are here helping and trying to keep her mom's name out there, and her being misguided on who to be angry with. I think she's missing the message. There's a message in this, because I believe something like this happens to a family like that, there's something to be heard. It may not be a message any of us will get or ever hear, but it's not happening to us. We're just watching it. It's happening to a family. It's happening to a very faithful family. It's happening in a very public light to a very faithful family. There's a message that needs to be heard that isn't being heard with this story. A godly message. Just my opinion. Now, do I know what that message is? I don't. All I'm here saying is my opinion is there's a message from something higher and bigger than us being said here, and nobody's hearing it.
I'm looking for that again. This is a 84-year-old lady who suffers from some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal.
Bing, bing, ding, ding, ding,
So we
ding,
make a
ding,
plea
ding,
to-
ding, 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 ding. Big Mac Mike, what is shaking bacon? I'm like, I understand we went to Bob's Burgers,
I'm a smart, strong, sensual woman.
but I didn't think we ran you off. I just assumed a burger was a burger, but I guess when you're Big Mac Mike, going to Bob's Burgers instead of McDonald's is just, it's like, yep, I can handle a lot, but when you turn on me like that, so Mike says, a famous criminal profile says the ransom notes are real and says a Mexican worker and a female friend are responsible, and Nancy wasn't supposed to die but had a heart attack and they abandoned. Famous criminal profile says the ransom notes are real. She says a Mexican worker and a female friend are responsible. Well, we've heard that they believe that the second ransom is from somebody, and I talked to somebody because I think AI was involved in this, but I talked to somebody, gave the notes over to somebody that I trusted to give me an honest opinion, and they said that there are things in here that AI would not make a mistake, which is what led them to believe, what led this person to believe that's why FBI believed these were handwritten, like written by somebody versus going through AI. But just because they were written by a human being versus AI doesn't mean that the person that did it, that wrote the ransom notes, are responsible for Nancy. Because I feel, good gracious, breathe, woman, quit talking so much. Because what I do believe happened in this particular matter is those ransom notes had literally nothing really convincing for me that made me say these are the guys. The smartwatch that they referenced, not the Apple Watch, the smartwatch. When I hear smartwatch, I think of Android. When I think of Apple Watch, I think of Apple. Okay? When I hear smartphone, I think of Android. When I think of iPhone, I think of Apple. When I think of computer, I think of Android or Windows-based product. When I think of iPad or MacBook Pro, I think of Apple. Okay, I think of Apple products. So the reason why I'm saying this is because they referenced the watch as being a smart watch. That means they didn't see it. They didn't see the watch. If they had physically seen the watch, they would have been able to tell the difference between an Apple and a smart. When I think of smartwatch, again, I'm thinking of an Android, Fitbit, Google, Gemini, whatever Android type of watch. I'm not engaging that it's an Apple Watch. Apple products are Apple products, much different than smart products or Android products. So I thought it was really interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate you, love. Appreciate you. It's a big burger. It's a big burger. You didn't run me off. Well, I have been playing Bob's Burgers, so I'm like, when I saw Big Mac Mike, I realized I must have had run you off because of my Bob's Burgers, and not my Big Mac. Oh no, Big Mac Mike, we love you. Whenever you're feeling you should come over here and let us pick on you.
I'm a tastemaker. When I talk, people listen.
Just saying, not playing. Well, it's nice to have you, love. It's nice to have you. I think we have 2 men and a woman involved. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Huh. All right, well, let's get back to this. So he's telling us in this, remember, because we just heard. Let's go over to this one. Let's go over to this one. Let's listen to this. Let's. This is 6 months later. This is NANOS. This is NANOS. You know, in the past, this is 6 months. This is 6 months ago, NANOS. This is current NANOS. Okay, 6 months NANOS. Current NANOS. Let's just listen to what current NANOS says.
6 months since Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home.
It always got a pop and lock. I don't know why.
Where does the investigation stand right now?
It's very active. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've done a lot of work, but we still have more. And there's not just in DNA, where labs across the country are working together, but in forensics, analysis of thousands and thousands of videos, photos, and we also have still tens of thousands of tips that come in, and we actively work on them. So it's a very active investigation.
The department released 2 ransom notes. Why now?
Well, really 2 reasons. One, it's out there. People have been, media has covered.
I just want to make sure that everybody that's sitting in my chat right now, if you want to know what Chris Nanos got a scholarship for to college, do you guys know why he got his scholarship to college? If you've been watching my channel, you'll know exactly why this man got a scholarship to college. Anybody know why he got a scholarship to college? Anybody? Anybody? I'll give you guys. Do 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 do. Anybody? Ah, ding ding ding. Somebody's been paying attention. Somebody's been paying attention. If you guys are new to the Bullhorn Betty channel and did not check out our investigative reporting on Mr. Criminal Sheriff Chris Nanos, yes, you are absolutely right. Again, big old, sorry, how to get it signed up. I didn't have it up. There you go, YouTuber. You should have gotten it. You are absolutely right. Meet our drama star. This here is Chris Nanos, the actor. The actor. Da-da! Yes, he got a scholarship for his drama. He was the best actor in his class, and he got a scholarship to college for acting. So if you want to know why he's such a great pathological liar, well, of course he's been trained. Of course he has. Pulling the scholarship. He's not good. He doesn't keep his eye on the balls.
We just saw what was being said and felt like we need to put something out that's really accurate. And this was the time. We felt like, investigators felt like there's a number of pieces of information in these notes that it just might jar someone to say, you know, I've heard that, or the wording, the style of the writing is, might jog someone to kind of think about who would have written this, how was this done? I I think anybody who reads them, my investigators, we look at it, and clearly there's things in there that are very concerning to our investigative team. So
great point, Terry.
We hope that by releasing the actual note, we'll get some response from the community.
Did the Guthrie family know you'd be releasing
Absolutely,
this?
absolutely.
6 months in, what's your relationship with the FBI?
It's a good relationship. It's always been a good relationship.
Bullshit.
You know, we've been.
Who thinks he's liar, liar, pants on fire? Oh, they have a great relationship. Him and the FBI, the people that went after him for corruption, boy, he has a great relationship with them, doesn't he? Doesn't he? Wow. Wow. Told you, pathological liar. Let's keep going.
Member of what is known as the Southern Arizona Violent Crime Task Force, headed up by the FBI, for decades. We've always participated, and to this.
Always participated until I put my hand in the cookie jar and tried to take $500,000 out, and then I kind of got it slapped and decided to blame it on my right hand man, and he's in jail, not me. So let's not forget about that. And that was after I bludgeoned a man to death and got to skate on that charge as well.
Day we still do. It's not just a great relationship. It's one that's very valued.
What's your message to the community?
We think somebody knows something. We hope that by releasing some of this information, it will jog somebody to think about what. A lot of people have called this with information, but we also know a lot of people are hesitant to do so. And so I didn't want
to get all this. I can't remember where the spot is. We'll go back to it once I get to the spot. But we wanted to hear him say that there's no note for him to think that this lady is deceased. So we're going to go back to that spot. But we got to get it lined up, and I don't know where it's at. So we're just going to work on this together.
Reminding the public, we're here. We're not going anywhere. If you have information, someone knows who this person is. Someone knows something. We want that person to call us. We need that phone call.
Why haven't you held a press conference about this case?
You know, the press conferences are actually more designed for when you have a...
I just want to let you know that this is his staff giving him an interview, okay? So he's the one that had these questions. He's the one answering his own questions. He's the one prepared for this, okay? I want to put this into context. The person you're hearing is his employee. It's his staff. It's not a reporter. It's his staff. He made some mistakes on his interviews. So as you see, him and his staff decided to put out their own interview of him because the mainstream media didn't ask him the questions he wanted them to ask him. So he had to ask himself those questions.
Very specific piece of information that you want out in front and you need help with, we do that. In this regard, we felt like just a media release was sufficient.
What's your message?
It's so he couldn't screw up. It's so he couldn't screw up anything, right? If it's in writing, because we just heard that he doesn't do well with scripts, and everybody wants to script him because he goes off on these wild tyrants, and then he has to walk all the crap he talks back, and people are sick of it. So yeah, the media request was very clear until we asked him questions in an interview that it became very unclear, and then he had to do this interview to clear it back up. I think the objective is Chris Nanos probably just needs to shut up. Just say it. I don't know anything.
To the Guthrie family.
We're still here. We're not going away. If you could just see the team working, you would see the energy, the concern. They're fired up, and we'll continue to work this case hard.
Is there anything that I forgot to ask or that you want to add?
You know, there is...
he had to look down at his notes because this was all scripted, because he's an actor.
A number of issues have been brought up about people being cleared of this investigation.
I think it's coming
You know, we served a few search warrants. We talked to individuals, and we move on because if the evidence is there, we continue that path. But that doesn't mean those individuals are cleared. It just means that we met with them because we felt like there was a need. There was probable cause established through evidence, tips, whatever, and presented to a court.
And we went on. Does that mean those individuals are cleared? Not necessarily. It just means that we took a look at something that was concerning to us, and now the evidence takes us elsewhere. But more to that point, I can't be any more clear. I said this earlier on, and I say it again. The Guthrie family is not and have not been suspects in this investigation. We have talked with them.
I believe it. I don't think they're suspects, guys. I really don't. I don't think Annie and Tommaso are suspects. I really don't. Not in hiring people, not in anything. I mean, I think he's made his point. They're not looking into the family. And I'm saying this because J.D. Huff did the same thing, and we just talked about Michael Monkey Vaughn. He went up to his podium and said basically the same thing about Brandy and Tyler, when people are starting to turn on them, that they're not looking at them in this investigation. Their investigation is in a completely different angle. And people didn't want to believe them, but they were not responsible. So I think, regardless what we feel, I think we need to take the heed that this officer is giving us, whether we have a respect for this man or not. They're not looking at the family. And there's a reason why they're not looking at the family. So there's something that's leading them away from the family, folks. And I think that it would do us some good to lead away from the family if we're going to be anywhere closer to finding out what happened to Miss Nancy. Just my opinion.
Worked with them. They are not suspects. They are victims of a very horrific crime.
If someone does have information that may help investigators...
This is not the one then, because he would have had it right there. Hold on, where is it? Hold on. Chris Nanos interview. He had several interviews this month, so let me just change my tools to time. Past month. We want the full interviews. We never finished the Sharp exchange. I'll find it, but he basically said that there was nothing, that he never had any notes or anything that said that Miss Guthrie was deceased or dead. And we just went through that whole interview for no reason, because that's where I was going, because he's now saying the doctors had told them if she doesn't have her medication, she's going to be dead in 24 hours. So let's listen to this.
From some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal.
Right there. This is his very first press conference to the world. The very first press conference to the world. And since this day, he has tried to convince all of us that Nancy Guthrie would survive this attack. Knowing damn good and well, he knows if she did not have her medication within 24 to 48 hours, she was dead. She could not survive. They knew that her medication was not with her. So they knew that she was on a matter of days of getting her. We're 6 months in. This lady's gone. It's fatal. Exactly. He even said it, Birds. It's fatal. Fatal. And yet he has drugged this out under a kidnapping for ransom instead of a no-body homicide case. And he himself right here had indications at the very beginning of this case that this lady is going to die if we don't get to her in a matter of 24 hours. He knew it. He knew it. And he has been deceiving the public ever since. And he still has not properly classified this case. Still to this day, 6 months in, it's still not properly classified.
So we make a plea to anyone who knows anything about this, who has seen something, heard something, to contact us. Call 911. We don't need another bad, tragic ending. We need some help. Our team is the best. I couldn't speak any higher. I think you know that.
Our team is the best. I couldn't speak any higher, and I think you know that. And this is a man that just assigned Sergeant Stivers, that was just written up for bungling the investigation in another homicide case that resulted in dropped charges of a homicide subject. So somebody was able to walk on a homicide case because Sergeant Stivers bungled the evidence. And Chris Nanos assigned him to this case and tells him, we have the best people on this case. Somebody he knows was just written up 2 months ago for bungling evidence. And then we find out the same Yahoo didn't even consider that the blood trail on the outside of the house had anything to do with a missing lady. And he's saying that he's got the best team on this. It's always nice going back to these initial interviews. This did not age well for Chris Nanos at all. Not at all.
We have done some great work with our partners in the Valley. You know, this community, I have to give a lot of thanks to our law enforcement agencies all across this valley, whether it's the Tucson Police Department or some of the smaller agencies. They've all reached out. They've all offered to assist. The FBI, all of them. We work so close with them, and they are all plugged in. We'll continue to work closely with them. But what I really need is I need this community to step up and start giving us some calls. Let us know if you've seen something. We are right now at a time, and I apologize, everybody tells me I talk too softly. We are at a time where, in this investigation, we're now moving forward where we need to depend on technology. You know, our license plate readers, our camera systems throughout the community, anything.
Camera systems throughout the community that they have turned off from maintaining a record, a recording, an actual recording. They're shown in real time, but they do not record squat because of the leadership, the idiots that are that have leadership positions in this community. Turn the switch back on, record those cameras. There's a reason why we have all of this technology. Granted, we don't want flock cameras, but we don't mind our traffic cameras. Turn them on. The traffic cameras could have saved this case. The traffic cameras could have saved this case.
Everything. And we will download all that data we have from the home, from different pieces of technology we've gotten, and we will use that to our advantage. But the reason I bring this up is that, you know, I'm a cop. I hate politics. But
Bullshit.
I have to remind our political leaders that they need to quit this banter of every time law enforcement leaders come to you for a need, that you give up these ridiculous remarks about how it's going to be misused. AI is a bad, evil word. The camera.
Yeah. Chris Nanos, we wouldn't trust you with an egg beater. Okay? So, yeah, we don't trust you guys to, No, it'll definitely be misused. It'll definitely be misused. We've got flock cameras all over this country. We're going to be taking them out of this country because they're being misused, period. Okay? You give people tools that have no constraints. You've got idiots that will use them without proper procedure. So, no, we don't trust people. Humans are going to be humans, and we know that.
Cameras are very bad and evil. I'm tired of that. Those tools in the right hands, with the right minds and the right approaches, are extremely valuable.
Yeah, they are.
To solving crimes just like.
But the problem is that when we have criminal sheriffs running the department, it kind of flattens that argument. At the time that he's saying this, we didn't know he was a criminal sheriff, but since then, we now know he's a criminal sheriff, which kind of explains why we say we don't trust these tools in criminals' hands. Well, some of those criminals are actually sheriffs of sheriff's departments. Proof? Meat pudding.
This. We need that. We need more staffing. We need a lot of things. But what I really need is I need the community's help with this. So I want to make sure I did.
Can we get I got another new shirt. Sonia, are you listening? We need to have a great picture of Chris Nanos, and under it we need to call him Puddin. 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 Okay? And under that it needs to be Bullhorn Betty True Crime. And small little, the small print. Bullhorn Betty. You need to have a small print, right? Under Puddin. Puddin big print. Bullhorn Betty small print, right? And we need to have Chris Nano's face on it. We need to call him Puddin, okay? We're going to start, instead of calling him the criminal sheriff of Pima County, he's got a new nickname. We're going to call him Puddin, right? Because the proof's in the puddin, and he's always seems to be the puddin. So we're going to call him Puddin. Sheriff Puddin.
Before I take any questions,
looks like he's reading a script to me.
We know that she needs her daily medication, and anybody that sees anything that even looks, hey, maybe that's her, just take a quick picture, take a video, send it to us. The number is real easy here locally. It's 911. You can contact our 88 Crime and remain anonymous. You can call me.
You can call Puddin. 1-800-GOOD-TIME. 1-800. I should stop. This is no laughing matter. This is no laugh. I'm sorry. The puddin's getting to me. Okay?
Anybody. I am here to take any questions you may have. It will be a little limited. I apologize for that, but we do have a crime that we need to protect its integrity.
Oh, we do have a crime because finally the family has shouted at the law enforcement long enough to finally say there's something not right here, and then they bring out the people, and guess what? Oh my gosh, we have a crime scene. Well, no shit. That's what the family was screaming about. That's why we have so much puddin. 1-800-PUDDIN. 1-800-PUDDIN. There we go. Sheriff Puddin strikes again.
I have here Sergeant David Stivers from our homicide team. He has been up all
Our homicide team. He needs to be fired from the homicide team.
night, so bear with us if we are a little bit fuzzy in our answers and responses, but we're both here for any questions.
Look at this guy over here. Got his hands all... He ain't looking good. When we have cross like that, he's protecting himself from something. What are you protecting yourself from? You seem like the only black man on the stage. Are you scared of the criminal white sheriff? I'm just asking. I mean, I would be. I'm not lying. I don't know why we missed him before. I'd be standing over there scared as shit too. I'd be like, oh, I don't like this sheriff. Woo! Let me get over here. Get over here.
Questions you may have. Let's start,
Chair,
please.
recognizing your limitations, but can you elaborate at all on what makes you believe it's a crime scene as opposed to someone who left home and just couldn't find their way back?
Well, I think I told you she is very limited in her mobility, right?
Oh, because the family. That's why. Because now hindsight's 2020, and we know that this department once again failed because they wouldn't even consider the blood drops. that tall sheriff, that deputy that from the homicide team, David Stivers, Sergeant Stivers, didn't know in his infinite wisdom of being a law enforcement agent that we have a missing person and a blood trail, but somehow he thought the blood trail had nothing to do with the missing person. Okay. Yeah, I think it is the PIO. But still, it's still funny, okay? It's still funny. I'd be scared of standing that close to a criminal sheriff. I'm just saying, not playing. I got the shirt, it says it. If you'd like one of these shirts, please reach out to Sonia. Do not forget, for a $100 purchase, you get some $45 worth of free Bullhorn Betty swag, so you don't even have to buy Bullhorn Betty products, and get free Bullhorn Betty products with your purchase of $100 or more, including Just Saying Not Playing shirt is on stock. But we need to get back to our Bullhorn Betty Team Foul Play. okay? Because I'm on Bullhorn Betty Team Foul Play for this case. So we're going to dust off the dirt and the dust of our Team Foul Play shirts, and we're going to be recycling those. So if you guys would like your Bullhorn Betty Team Foul Play shirt, please reach out to Sonia for your shirt. We're taking the position, we're Team Foul Play. Okay, there's foul play all up in this. There's foul play all up in with the Guthries. There's foul play all up in with the sheriff. There's foul play. We're just Team Foul Play. Something ain't right. Something's stinking to high heaven over here in the Nancy Guthrie case. So we're going full on Team Foul Play. All right, guys, this is the end of our show. We were going to be here a little bit longer to go over these interviews. We will go over interview 2, but I want to circle back to I've got to find an interview. If you guys know what it is, it's the interview that he most recently did. He did 2 major interviews. One with Sharp Exchange, I've got that, and one with, I believe, Ford something. We need to find that Ford interview, because one of the 2, he sits there and says that he's supporting the family and that he's never had an indication that Miss Nancy Guthrie is dead. And I want to circle back to this very first interview and the words that came out of his mouth, but I need the receipts. We need to turn Chris NANOS back into some more pudding, okay? Because again, truth meet pudding. Because the truth is in the what? Is in the pudding. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. And again, covering the mysterious facts related to Miss Savannah Guthrie, Miss Nancy Guthrie, and of course, Chris NANOS in this crazy case of this poor 84-year-old lady being ripped out of her bed in the middle of the night. Why? The answer is here. We need to find it, and we need to find the people responsible. If you have any information, please reach out to law enforcement immediately. If these ransom notes sound familiar to you at all, please reach out to law enforcement. If you know anything about this poor grandmother, please find it, find some courage, find your own moral compass, and please do the right thing and come forward. God bless each and every one of you. We will see you later this evening. God bless.